Final Fantasy XIV throws a lot at you. You got your main story quests, your side quests, the blue quests you want to do, the blue quests you don't want to do. It's a lot to take in. Welcome back, Classy Crew, to the second journal of Final Fantasy XIV as I work my way through this game for the very first time and document my journey. How far am I going to get in the next 2 months? Who knows? There's no pledge. I'm going at my own rate. I'm now roughly 16 hours into this game, and I finally found some traces of plot, which is a great thing. In the last journal, I played almost 10 hours and there was really no plot. Now, I will say somehow I missed the very important trailer, which if I would have seen that, I would have understood a bit more plot. And a lot of people criticize this on the last journal. Why did you watch the 1.0 trailer and not the 2.0 trailer? And I only found out about this because it plays if you leave the title screen on long enough, which I do when I start the stream, that there's this whole amazing trailer that starts with what has to be one of the most beautiful songs in Final Fantasy XIV I've heard so far. And I mean, I keep hearing some new bangers. You've got like this battle that's going on. It looks like it's the free, I'm going to call them the free folk because I don't know who they are, going up against like an empire. And then like you've got the moon that shatters. What else happens there? Bahamut comes out of it and destroys everything. And then like the music crescendos and it's just like, this really reignited my drive of like, what is going on in this game? What is happening? Especially now that I've played a little bit, I'm starting to understand a little bit, I think, what the game is laying down. So yeah, so Bahamut's destroying everything. The war is pretty much interrupted because it's like, oh my God, the moon just blew up and there's a massive dragon thing killing us all. And then somehow there's this old dude who just like seems to be casting something, and we see glimpses of these other characters which I have met, so I now know that they are the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, which seem to be important. It looks like they're all coordinating a seal that brings everything together, sealing Bahamut in some kind of digital world. And it looks like the old man's sacrifice, which also now I recognize as the meme because I've seen this meme for like the last 10 years. I was like, oh, that's where that's from. The final key is these important characters, which were in the 1.0 trailer, get transported to a new world. It looks like everything was going to get destroyed, but the old man's like, no, you guys are important. They don't seem confused at all. They're just like smiling. Let's call on our chocobo and let's ride to this town with a massive thing through it. That part I don't get, but I assume has to do with the whole Realm Reborn. Sorry, these journals are not going to be very well organized. It's just kind of me rambling off my thoughts. But outside of that, I've moved the story forward where I've actually gone to the 3 main towns, and I think these are the starter towns. So I'm understanding the world so much. Like, so far I've only known Grandia. Now I agree with Rurikon, who said that is the most boring starter town. These other towns are so much more lively. There's so much more going on. It actually feels like you're part of the world. Grandia just feels like, or Grandia, feels like where people go to retire and forget about the world's problems. But then you've got like Ul'dah, which has freaking fantastic music, a lot more going on there. And then Limsa, what's it called? I've also heard Town of Disease, where all the people do like... So I met the heads of all of those towns, like Connie, Senna. I'm going to be bastardizing everything, so please just like, don't even touch that keyboard and be like, actual one's pronounced like, I'm going to learn in time. We've got Raban, which is head of Ul'dah, and we've got Merylwib, who's head of Limsa. I've seen the echo that these people were all at that battle with the Empire. I've also been introduced to the Empire, and I've also been introduced to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. So all of this now is starting to interconnect. What I understand is that it is 5 years since the Calamity, aka the moon blowing up. The Empire was expanding because they want to bring order and control and unity, which, you know, that's what empires do. So I'm all with that. And so this conflict clearly hit a climactic point between all of these towns and the Empire. And then there was the Calamity, and then the Scions of the Seventh Dawn did something with the old man, sealing it all, and now the world is kind of in the state of like semi-destruction because of the war and also because of that massive calamity. Everyone's rebuilding, and that's the ground layer of what I know so far. And that's good because that's all I need to get started. I'm like, okay, I understand. I'm appreciating what the world is not just trees and fighting lizard folk in the forest. And like, who are these warriors of light? Where are they now? Who's this empire? It looks like they're going to be starting a new campaign. These are all questions that are driving my curiosity, that are driving me forward in the main story quest. So with all that, geez, what to even start on? Where do we go from here? So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've been progressing. I'm at about level 28. I've seen all of the starter towns now. Grandia, definitely like good cozy town, but not the best first impression for this game because it's showing its age in some places, and Grandia is probably like the worst. It just shows the worst of it all. Ul'dah has amazing music. Just, I love the music, the soundtrack all around Ul'dah. Like the town and whatever's around it has had the best tracks in the overworld part of the game. And then Limsa Lominsa, it's a town of pirates. It's a town of degenerates from what I understand. I like the vibe. I like what's going on here. I didn't spend much time because this quest pretty much took us into Ul'dah. That's where like the main thing is. So once you're done exploring the first 3 towns, you get then introduced to the dungeons. And I have to say, from like a game design mechanic standpoint, I just love how they are guiding the player. And this is not something I saw in the other MMOs I played, which was pretty much just World of Warcraft and Old Republic. But you got to do these smith quests, which teaches you all of the main mechanics of whatever your class is. So I'm a DPS, as an archer, I do damage per second. Learning the mechanics, learning how to work as a team, all of that is forced on the player, which could be very handholdy for an MMO experienced player. But for people who never have played this, don't know anything, I think that is very valuable. So you're going into the dungeon with some level of experience from the get-go. Like you got a little tutorial out of that. Even better, the smith quest rewards you with an amazing drip. So I've been wearing like this clown suit for a while. I actually really love this outfit. This outfit just looks good, and I'm not in a hurry to replace it. Also, in those tutorials, I got introduced to a monster called a Gubu, which, I think it's an iconic monster. I've seen some people run around on them, but the name and the design of this thing, I love it. I love Gubu, and I can't wait to get my own Gubu. Speaking of getting my own stuff, I did get a wind-up ship as my first minion. I call him Swifty. He's not, it's Swifty like in this world. He's just a very swift ship. And so we're going to call him Swifty. And he is the best airship. And I love him. I got into my first dungeon, which is tied to the pirates. It's called Sastasha. I have to say, as a first dungeon, this thing did not leave much of an impression on me. Just story-wise, there wasn't much to say. I'm not going to really dissect the mechanics of a dungeon because I'm not an MMO player. I can't tell you, oh yes, the mechanics of this fight was very similar to this in WoW, or much better. Story-wise, Sastasha was disappointing. It's a pirate den and you're raiding it and you're pretty much chasing a pirate through the den until you defeat him. Then we head over to Grandia for their dungeon with the Tamtara Deepcroft. This one was a much better dungeon from a lore perspective. Like you walk in and there's a moon. There's a freaking like moon clone in the middle. And from what I understand, this is a place where the lambs of Dalamud get together, and they were worshippers of the moon, and I understand the moon was called Dalamud. And it's like, well, what are they worshiping now? The moon blew up, so now they're like making their own moon or something. This whole cult from a lore perspective has caught my attention. I'm just like, what are you guys, like, what are you doing here? And that dungeon was great because like, well, it's your introduction to this cult, and then you're like basically breaking their moon, and then out of the moon there's like a Cthulhu that comes out, or a Cthulhu wannabe, and then you kill that. And I'm sure this is not the last we're gonna see of this cult, but I'm already intrigued of this cult that worshiped the moon so hard they needed to rebuild a new moon. Dungeon 3 was also a step up from Dungeon 2, which was the Copperbell Mines. Again, I love the lore of this. The fact that centuries ago there were some, like, they dug too deep and no, that's not what it was. They were enslaving giants to do the mining for them, and then the giants are like, forget this, and then the miners are like, okay, time to bury the giants and seal them off. And now that they are mining again, they have reawoken the giants, who are very pissed off about being enslaved and being buried alive. And so now you got to take them out. And also from a boss mechanic standpoint, like, there was a lot more to do and be aware of. It's not just spam all of your weapons. And so that was really fun. Like, even the final boss here, which was, I think his name was Gyges the Great. So many mechanics where you have to move, where there's like AoEs, you have to get close to him, you have to get away from him. Like, where you are positioned in the fight is important. And it was just great. Also, I have to say, another big thing that happened this week is I changed my controls to controller. So the first 2 streams I did it all on keyboard, as I've always played MMOs, but I had heard that Final Fantasy XIV has a very well-designed controller interface for MMOs, which I don't understand how that makes sense. There's so many key presses. How do you map that to a controller? So far though, it has been so comfortable to play with a controller. So I'm using more of a hybrid system. So when I'm streaming, I'm pretty much just holding the controller, and I don't have to move or like rest my hands in a weird way. Whereas if it's keyboard and mouse, like you're constantly doing some of this and you're holding your wrist anyways. And then when I need to do like some menu digging and analyzing stuff and clicking around, I just like bring my mouse over and I start clicking with the interface. It's so seamless. It's so good. The comfort of the controller, it just can't be replaced for me. And everything maps so well. Like you just push one button and then you get like all the face buttons that act as basically a key. And so you got pretty much 8 keybinds per, like if you hold right trigger, that's 8 keybinds. If you hold left trigger, that's another 8. It's going to be interesting when I'm actually more well versed. I'm still struggling to remember where my buttons are or like setting up my keybinds. It's all going to come in time. I mean, I'm like my social bar, my dungeon bar, my raid bars, whatever. I got to learn. But I have to say, switching a controller with a little bit of assistance from the mouse and keyboard has been fantastic so far. I got introduced to the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, which are headquartered in the Ul'dah region. So I've been really stuck in Ul'dah here. Also getting introduced to all of the Scions, including Minfilia, Thancred, Ida and Papalimo again, so they were Scions the whole time. Ishta, I think, or Ishtara, Ishtola, that's the one. And Urianger, or Urianger, I think his name is French. I am now off on like a little mission with Thancred. We're trying to figure out who's kidnapping all these people. It sounds like these Amalja, who are like lizard folk in the desert, they're kidnapping, but why? We don't know why. So I have to say though, like as excited as I've been, this part of the story has been very dry. I've been spending about an hour and a half moving this Thancred quest line forward, and it has been so bland and boring and old like MMO style questing. I was warned for this, so like I'm not knocking anything, but I'm just saying, okay, I see how people can get turned off from this game if they don't get in the mindset that it gets better. At least I hope it gets better. I'm promised it gets better. So yeah, this part is just like, go here, click that, talk to this person, go run back there, report to that person, go back there, investigate that. And it's so fetchy, and like it just doesn't give you rewards. It doesn't give you fun fights. It doesn't give you fun lore. It's just a lot of running around. And to be fair, I'm getting to understand like and appreciating that part of the world, but it's grindy. So I'm just kind of buckling down and being like, all right, let's do it. Let's eat our bland cereal, because there's a nice like, I don't know, buffet coming up after this. So that's where we are with the story. The next part is going to be going to kill some Amalja. I've been told I got to go kill them. So let's go be a murderer. Other little side things that happened this past week. So I did get a classier outfit because I was complaining about my drip. So I got a nice like old tuxedo, which I have to say, I don't really like the top. It feels too wide, too open. That's my complaint about that. Luckily, I got my good drip from the Smith quest, so we're good there. There's a bunch of features that have been unlocked thanks to the help of the community. I did some side questing, guided side quest to unlock Glam, which is like, for Monster Hunter fans here, it's like layered armor. It lets you pretty much look the way you want. At this stage, I think it's too early for me to dabble with this. This is like a complex system to me. I got introduced, I got like a little tutorial in my ear, and I'm just like, I've started being more aware of the job system and what jobs are available, and I see it now in my character profile, all the jobs I can do. I'm like, these all go up to level 99. People are like, yes. I'm like, oh, well, we got to do all of them. And they're like, no, that's not what you want to do, but I do want to do that. I'm still not ready to go into job because there's just so much stuff coming at me. I'm going to get into jobs soon. Right now, I'm leaning towards wanting to mine, because if I can mine, like mining is a great thing I love to do, and probably cooking. I know they don't go together. I know mining is great with like armor and weapon and smithery or whatever. Like that is the optimal route, but we're not optimal here. So I want to be able to cook stuff, and I want to be able to mine stuff, because that's what I like doing. So I'm eventually, when I take a break from the story, I'm going to go and dabble in jobs and see what that's all about. And then we did take a side trip to the Golden Saucer just to get it unlocked, so I know where it is. I did do a little tour, like you have to do a little tutorial area that gets, it just shows you this is what this is, this is what this is. So I kind of ran through that a little bit quick, because I didn't want to be in the Golden Saucer just yet. I saw how big it is. I'm like, okay, there's too much to do right now in the main side quests, or the main story quests. We're going to come back to the Golden Saucer when I'm a little bit more bored, I'm a little bit more familiar with the world. We're going to lose ourselves in essentially this theme park and have fun. The only thing I got to say though, I got to try this game called Mini Cactpot, which is like a little scratch ticket thing, which was pretty fun. And the first one, I had Blue in my ear kind of guiding me of like, oh, scratch that, scratch that. And then I finally learned what to do. So the second one, I'm like, don't talk to me. And I understand it's like you scratch 3 and you try to create like the sum. And I won on my first try, jackpot. I got 10,000 whatever points. So that was my little victory music thing of the golden saucer. And then I guess the last thing I forgot to talk about is the class quest. So as an archer, I've been progressing that. So now I've pretty much an equal to my 2 trainees, whatever, Lei and Silver. We went out on a mission to find some poachers. We found out that these poachers were named Pawa Mujuk, who seems to have some history with Lei. I think they're from like the same litter or something, whatever they refer to themselves as. Silver hates them, wants to kill her. Lei wants to leave, but then I think I convinced her not to, and that there's more to life than running away or something. So that's where I'm at with that. The continuation of my class quest is locked behind level 30, and I'm at like level 28. So that's on hold for now. And I guess I'm going to go slay some desert lizards because that's what the game wants me to do. So that's where I'll be next week, and moving the main story quest forward, as well as just getting more and more familiar with how to do things. And I really don't know what else to expect, but I'm looking forward to learning more about what is the driving force of the present. I'm like learning what happened 5 years ago, but what is happening in the world today? We see the Empire is up to something. Like, I think they're going to be the cataclysm to something that's going to lead to like, oh, the world is in conflict again. And that's when I'm going to step up and not just be an adventurer, but start. And also, where are those warriors of light? Like, I think that's going to play a big part. Like, they didn't just disappear. They're somewhere. They're doing something. So that's what I want to uncover next. Anyways, I'll see you on the next journal. Thanks for following. And until next time, keep it classy.